This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. I'm a big fan of shave soap. I've been using different brands for years, and I recently gave Sterling's shave soaps a try, and I've been very happy with the results. Sterling's shave soaps give you a great lather and a frictionless feel that allows the razor to glide right over the skin for a super close shave. No skin irritation and a clean, refreshing feel with no soapy residue after. I can tell you without a doubt, it's simply the best shave I've ever had. And my wife has noticed too. And here's the thing. With the ability to purchase 1-ounce sample pucks, you can try out different scents to find the right one for you. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. It's November 25th, and on this day in 1971, it was college football's game of the century, and this one definitely lived up to the hype. This was a Thanksgiving Day game between top-ranked and undefeated Nebraska on the road at number 2 Oklahoma. There was a lot on the line in this one. There was the Big 8 championship and a chance to go to the Orange Bowl to play Alabama for the national championship. Cornhusker receiver and punt returner Johnny Rodgers electrified the crowd early with this punt return, immortalized by Nebraska's Lyle Bremser and his call for KFAB that day.
Rodgers takes the ball at the 30. He's hit and got away. Back upfield to the 35, to the 40. He's to the 45. He's to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 20, to the 10. He's all the way home. Holy moly! Man, woman, and child did that. Put them in the aisle. Johnny the Jet Rodgers just tore them loose from their shoes.
Cornhusker fans tossed oranges on the field with the thought the rout was on. Now, Nebraska was the defending national champ, and they were riding a 29-game winning streak. The Huskers averaged nearly 40 points a game that season, while only allowing a little bit over 6. But Oklahoma got its wishbone offense revved up and moving. The Sooners had been averaging 45 points a game coming into this one, and by halftime, they led 17-14. Nebraska head coach Bob Devaney made an adjustment at halftime. In the first 30 minutes, they'd been attacking the end. In the second half, he vowed to let his offensive line open holes for his tailback Jeff Kinney and go right at the Sooners up the gut. Oklahoma hurt themselves a little bit too, losing 3 fumbles on the day, with 2 of those resulting in Husker points. Still, with 7 minutes to play in the game, Oklahoma clung to a 31-28 lead. Nebraska started their final offensive drive on their own 26-yard line, and they pounded the middle all the way down the field with a pass from quarterback Jerry Taggy to Rodgers mixed in along the way. With 1:38 to play in this one and 3 consecutive handoffs to Kenny, the Cornhuskers had the ball at the 2-yard line. Everybody in the stadium knew who was getting the football. Here's Lyle Bremser again.
Jeff Kinney in the top of the eye. Taggy, the quarterback, calls his count at the line of scrimmage. Taking a long count there, he gives to Kinney. Kinney over the left side, touchdown! 74 yards on that drive. 74 yards on that drive, and Nebraska forges into the lead. Oh, man, woman, and child, I never thought I would live this long to see this kind of a football game.
It was Kinney's 4th touchdown of the day, and that provided the final margin of victory at 35-31. Kinney finished with 174 yards rushing. Oklahoma's Jack Mildren threw for 2 and ran for 2 as the Sooners rolled up 467 total yards. Nebraska would go on to beat Alabama in the Orange Bowl and wrap up the 1971 national championship. On this day in 1950, a blizzard blanketed a large swath of the country and impacted 2 football rivalry games. Let's start in Knoxville, where it was number 5 Tennessee versus number 3 Kentucky. The snow event in Knoxville eventually got the name the Great Appalachian Storm, and it was miserable and deadly. 160 people died in the east and northeast from the blizzard and strong winds. The snow was falling, the temperature was 5 at kickoff, but that did not stop 45,000 from piling into Shields-Watkins Field to watch this one live. Some had paid as much as $40 a ticket to watch it, and then spent more time trying to find a way to not freeze under woolen army blankets than actually enjoy the game on the field. There was even a bonfire built under one of the stands, which does not sound super safe, but hey, the 1950s. Fans even resorted to drinking copious amounts of whiskey during the game to try to stay warm on the inside. This was a Bear Bryant-coached Kentucky team versus a General Robert Neyland-led volunteer squad. Bryant was not a fan of wearing lots of layers to stay warm. The uniform was the uniform, and you just endured. The Wildcat players did not wear long johns or higher, thicker socks, nor did they warm their hands during downtimes like the Tennessee players did. That tough guy mentality eventually took its toll. So, what happened in the game? A lot of nothing, really. The snow kept coming and the temperature kept falling. Snow was shoveled off the field as quick as it could be, but the game was ugly. There were a total of 20 punts, 18 turnovers, and the teams only managed 17 first downs. The only points came in the second quarter when Tennessee's Mr. Everything, Hank Laricella, found Bert Retchachar in the end zone. Retchachar made a diving catch on the fourth down play, the PAT was good, and the Vols went on to the 7-0 win. The loss was devastating to Kentucky. Even though they went on to beat Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl, they had dropped to number 7 in the polls. And despite beating Oklahoma, the Sooners were declared the national champion in 1950. Tennessee beat Texas in the Cotton Bowl to finish the season ranked 3rd. However, both Kentucky and Tennessee declared themselves national champions. Both teams' media guides still list 1950 as a national championship season. So, as I said, this snowstorm was huge, and it was affecting another big game on this day, this one between Ohio State and Michigan in Columbus. This one became known as the Snow Bowl, and it was a battle for the conference championship then known as the Big Nine. Well, that and a battle for who could hold onto the football. The snow was swirling constantly. The temperature was 10 degrees with the wind blowing around 30 miles per hour, making it feel like -12, and the field was an ice rink. There were more than 50,000 in the stadium for this game, and they tried to keep warm by building small bonfires in the stands. Again, doesn't sound safe, but also the 50s. The game also started more than 2 hours late. The grounds crew had a lot of trouble removing the tarp that was on the field with 4 feet of snow on top of it. Local Boy Scouts were brought in to help. Once the game did start, though, it was pretty much each team exchanging punts, with a lot of those happening on first down. It was not only a field position game, but a hope that the other team would fumble it or something disastrous would happen. The teams combined for 45 punts. The Buckeyes scored the first points of the game after they blocked a punt and recovered it at the Wolverine 8. 3 straight runs resulted in -13 yards, and that set up a 38-yard field goal. With the goalposts barely visible, snow falling, and a swirling wind, Vic Jankowitz kicked a field goal. Years later, a group of sports writers called Jankowitz's kick one of the greatest feats in American sports. Those were the only points that they would score on the day. Michigan was not exactly an offensive juggernaut in this one. They did not complete a single pass or even gain a first down in the entire game, and they still were able to muster 9 points. Both of their scores were a result of blocked punts. Despite winning the Big Ten title in 1949 and finishing second to Michigan in 1950, Buckeye head coach Wes Fessler never beat the Wolverines, and he resigned 18 days after this game ended. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. Just a year ago on this day, it was an amazing finish to the Iron Bowl. With 43 seconds left, Auburn was up 24-20. 8th-ranked Alabama was facing a 4th and 21. On a play they called Gravedigger, Jalen Milroe took the snap and stood calm in the pocket. He looked right, in the middle, swiveled to his left, and let the ball fly to the back corner of the end zone, where Isaiah Bond leaped and made the catch for the game-winning touchdown. It was another in a long line of stunning finishes in the series. And since snow has been a big theme on the day, on this day back in 1993, a big snowstorm on Thanksgiving in Dallas provided the backdrop for a stunning finish and a play that Leon Lett would like to forget. The field conditions at Texas Stadium were atrocious, the worst anybody could remember in Dallas. The Cowboys were leading 14-13 late in the fourth. The Miami Dolphins had a chance to win it with a 40-yard Pete Stoyanovich field goal. What happened next was perplexing to everyone that day, and here's Dick Enberg with the call for NBC.
Doug Peterson to hold. Blocked. The Cowboys will win.
Wait a minute.
Whale was in the end zone. No one covered it, and Miami did. That could be a touchdown if Miami has covered it.
A Dallas player touched the ball, and then the Dolphins went on and recovered it.
It's on the 1-yard line. It's not in the end zone. It's in the 1-yard line.
They're going to sort it out.
And there's 3 seconds left on the clock.
Someone touches the football here. Watch what happens. It's Leon Lett. No!
Oh, Lett, who is haunted by his Super Bowl misplay, and the ball goes into the end zone. They say it was touched at the 1-yard line.
If we had instant replay, that's a touchdown.
The Dolphins got the ball at the 1 with 3 seconds left. Stoyanovich took advantage of the second chance, and he booted the winner through. It cost the Cowboys the game, but didn't cause any permanent damage. They made their way back to the Super Bowl and won their second in a row. And in the other sport that some call football, on this day in 1953, it's been called the match that changed the game. And I suppose, not surprisingly, the match of the century. This was an international friendly between Hungary and England, played at Wembley Stadium. The English team had been beaten only once in its history on their home turf, and that had been 4 years prior. Now, that had left the English with a sense of superiority, and they may have been guilty of some complacency as well. The English 11 chuckled at their Hungarian counterparts' shoes as they took the field before the start of this match. One English player said, "This will be easy. They've all got carpet slippers on." The Hungarians were no slouch, though. They were the reigning Olympic champs, having won in Helsinki the year before. They were all part of the national army and trained with each other all the time to understand what each other's players' tendencies, strengths, and weaknesses were. They were big on physical fitness, which seems strange to say now for a top-level athlete. I mean, of course they'd be into physical fitness, right? But the 1950s were a bit different. Heck, smoking was considered to be a healthy pastime back then. The Hungarians had very strict training plans. The English team, on the other hand, was older in age and less experienced together. The team was assembled by England's Football Association, so there wasn't much consistency from game to game or tournament to tournament. The English were also fond of their heavy boots, hence the laughter at the lighter cleats that the foreigners were wearing. 105,000 gathered in Wembley to watch this one, and some had not made it to their seats before Hungary scored their first goal in the first minute. The Hungarians were showing a fluidity in their passing, playing in tight triangles, and then releasing a man to make a run into the attacking third while playing a slicing 30-yard pass to the feet of the attacker. The English looked as if they were moving with concrete blocks on their feet compared to the Hungarians. By the 24th minute, Hungary led 3-1. Each team added a goal before halftime, and it was 4-2. The Hungarians continued their dominance in the second half, showing they were technically and tactically superior. Their fifth goal came in the 52nd minute, and when Nandor Hidekuti, a.k.a. the original false number 9, scored his third goal of the day on a volley in the 55th minute, it was 6-2. England got one back later, but the 6-3 final was a complete embarrassment for the overconfident English. So why was this match so important and called the match that changed the game? Well, Hungary's style of play brought tactical play into the game. Their triangulated passing attack, sending a man into open space, the false nine that allowed an attacking forward to drop deeper into the midfield and create for others instead of just always being up top waiting for a pass. England had been left dumbfounded, and it caused them to change to a more modern tactical game. Many in England attribute the loss to the Hungarians on this day, with eventually leading to their winning the 1966 World Cup 13 years later. Time now for today's Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Starfish have eyes. The tiny eye spots are located at the end of each arm, and they give the starfish only rudimentary vision. They can distinguish between light and dark and have a field of view extending about 3 feet. But they can't make out colors or finer details. However, they do have a 360-degree view. Some species can even bend their arms into a 90-degree angle to use their eye like a periscope, while others can bend their arms completely backwards and look up. That's it for today. I'll have more tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.